What I'm going to talk about today is, as the introduction was, how do you integrate social marketing and loyalty to deliver great customer experiences? Customer experience is a huge initiative going on at Oracle. It's the buzzword of the day. And just before we get started, of course, I want to talk about the fact that we're going to discuss some things here, and I think, whizzed through the Oracle Safe Harbor statement. Okay, so today I think that this slide doesn't need too much explanation. Technology is exploding. We've been talking about social most of the morning. Just a couple of stats that I think are really interesting on the social front. Pinterest is now larger than Yahoo. I don't know how many of you knew that. Obviously, Facebook has gone public. Some would argue successfully or not. Twitter opens 12 accounts per second. Mobile is now the channel of choice for most users, and especially millennials. We need to pay attention to that. Tablet adoption has increased 130% in 1 year. And my favorite statistic, there are 340 trillion IPs to connect to smart devices on the internet. Data growth is off the charts. There's 100 terabytes of data that are uploaded daily to Facebook. And cloud technologies are really setting the standard as the only way that IT can keep up with demand. So with this technology explosion, behaviors are also rapidly evolving. The rate of adoption is unprecedented. And in the last 5 years, I would say that we've really seen tremendous change in the way that we chat, in the way that we share, in the way that we interface, and the way that we influence, most importantly. And the result is that consumers and people's behaviors are changing to the point that they are now always on, they're always sharing, and they're always connected. And all of this is creating massive disruptions. Of course, there's greater commoditization of products and experiences, a lot of copycat, rapid development, media saturation on new channels. We've been talking about that most of the morning. And everyone is fighting for attention and fighting for that share of voice. And also, new markets are opening up, and there's increased global competition, cheaper shipping, larger distribution channels, lower cost manufacturing, and all of this really is adding up to one thing. It's making it extremely difficult for brands to differentiate, to compete, and to win at a profit. And of course, all of this is leading to unintended consequences. The unfortunate truth is that 26% of consumers now post negative comments on social sites after a single bad experience. And 86% of customers now stop doing business with a brand if they've had a single bad experience. 69% of employees today are not actively engaged in their jobs. And that's why customers are now fighting back. Consumers want to take control of the conversation, and they want to take control of how they interact with brands, and they're demanding the brand relationships that the brands are promising them. For example, a couple years ago, I made a personal decision that I wasn't going to buy any type of entertainment ticket unless I could do it online. So no more movies at art houses in the United States, because they've decided not to adopt e-commerce ticket purchases. And I'm soon going to move to a point where if I can't buy a movie ticket or an entertainment ticket through my mobile phone, then I'm just not going to go. So this is an example of how consumers like me, and have many, many different examples, are taking control of how they want to interact with the brand, about how they want to have a conversation with your organization. The other thing that I thought was interesting is we did a study at Oracle about customer experience and found that it really is an incredibly top priority amongst the C-suite. 98% of you as executives say that they are in some type of process to develop a formal customer experience strategy. But there's a lot of limitations and inflexible technology and application infrastructure that are creating a lot of obstacles in order for them to really drive great experiences. So what we're sitting back at Oracle and asking people to think about is just reimagine your experiences. Reimagine the experiences that your customers are actually having with your brand. What would that be like? What matters most to your customers? Not only are your customers telling you, but 96% of them are willing to pay more for a better experience. Again, another personal anecdote. I travel a lot for work, and I recently was looking to buy a book, and I forgot that I had actually purchased the book on Amazon previously. And what did Amazon do? It sent me an alert saying, Melissa, you've already purchased this book. Perhaps you would like to look at these other recommended books. What that did is it actually built credibility and trust between me and Amazon, that they were looking out for me, that I trusted that brand. And you know what? If Amazon decides to charge me 5, 10, or even 15% more for a book, I probably will pay for it because I've built trust with the brand. They're meeting my expectations. So customers who have great customer experiences has been proven are willing to pay more for them. And customer experience has really been proven to be the only sustainable differentiator for businesses, especially in the wake of all of the different dynamics that we're experiencing today, global change, economy, et cetera. And for those who have really embraced a great customer strategy, customer experience strategy, I would say they really stand out. If I think of some of the great brands that have really adopted and embraced customer strategy and customer experience strategy, Southwest Airlines, Virgin, we talked about Virgin today in the previous speaker's note, Starbucks, Carrefour, Tesco. These are all brands that have adopted and embraced customer experience as the driving force within their organization. So where do we begin? This is a diagram of what we call the customer lifecycle journey. And what we really try to do is to put ourselves into the minds of our customers and, again, try to imagine and experience the journey that our customers have. We really need to start thinking about what do our customers want, what do they expect, and what matters most to them. So the important thing is that when you think about a customer lifecycle journey, it's a continuous loop. It doesn't start when the customer buys your product and then you need to service and support and answer questions afterwards. It starts from the very, very beginning when a customer is deciding their own needs, when they're engaging in their own research, when they're finalizing their selections of what to purchase, when they're actually committing to the purchase, when they're actually preparing for the delivery of the particular product or service. And then, of course, after the customer has actually used the product or the service, it's about extending the use and maintaining the use of that product or service. And then, of course, ultimately, as we've talked about today, influencing their friends. Once someone likes a particular product or service, influencing their friends. So this is what we call the customer experience life cycle. And when we think about reimagining the experience, we think about actually getting into the minds of our customers and really understanding that continuous loop and that process that your customers go through when they interact and engage with your brand. So at Oracle, one of the things that we're trying to do is to try to put a framework around where do you start? How do you start to really uncover your customer journeys, and where do you start to really try to drive a customer experience strategy within your organization? And we've come up with 3 key approaches that I just want to explain to you. The first kind of approach is about understanding. It's really about being able to, what we say, unify and capture insights about your customers in order to better understand who you need to serve, how you need to serve them, and when you need to serve them. And we're going to talk about where do you get those customer insights and how do you capture all of that structured and unstructured data that exists not only in your organization but also in the social web. Second approach is about empowering. It's really about empowering people, whether you're empowering your employees, whether you're empowering your customers. It's really to be able to empower them so that they can do business and self-serve and self-solve on their own so that you can scale the level of engagement that you have with your folks. And the third approach is really all around adapting. How do you actually adapt to this ever-changing market and to be able to develop and leverage agile experiences so that you can dynamically adapt to evolving customer businesses and customer needs? You need to be able to, within your organization, have the right level of agility so that you can optimize and make those changes quickly in order to react to what's happening in the market. So let's just unpack this a little bit and start to take a closer look at each one of these approaches because I think there's some interesting things to go through. So the first one we talked about is understanding. Once you better really understand who your customers are, I mean, we've been talking about the 360-degree profile of customers for a long time, right? But what does that really mean? It really means understanding what your customers do, but most importantly, what matters most to your customers. And once companies really embrace this approach, will really help to give you the confidence to rethink, compete, and win in the marketplace. So let me give you just a quick example of what I mean by understanding and what you can do with it. It's a silly example, but let's just say that I was in the market to buy a new TV, some kind of new HD TV, and I get coupons like this in the mail every single day. Brands spend a lot of money just trying to send me direct mail with discounts in order to encourage me to go into a store or even driving me to a particular e-commerce site to buy TVs or to buy any other kind of item. The thing that I find very interesting about these types of communications is that they're not tailored to me at all. I mean, they might get my name if we're lucky, but they're not tailored to me at all. They're not tailored to the type of business that I do with that customer. There's nothing meaningful or personalized about that type of communication. And the thing that I don't really understand is that how come, no one really sends me more highly personalized communications? No one recognizes the value that I have with that particular brand, the fact that I might have been in the store the day before looking at another particular item, I might have been tweeting about that particular retailer, et cetera, and there's no recognition of that. And what I really don't understand is why can't they just apply knowledge of who I am in terms of how they actually engage with me? Maybe if they did, it would actually motivate me to go into the store more often. And once I'm in a store, it's been proven that I'm 60% more likely to buy a high-ticket item once I'm actually in the store. But in order to get me into the store, you need to be able to have that highly personalized engagement with me. And maybe if you did, maybe if you tried to reimagine the experience from my point of view, that I would probably take you up on more offers and visit your store more often. So we talk about the experience today, and we talk about the experience tomorrow, or the experience reimagined. So the key kind of sub-approaches under really understanding your customers in order to reimagine that experience are as follows. First thing we talk about is infusing insight with social learning. I think we all know that within organizations, we complain about the plethora of data. We've been talking about big data most of the morning, and the fact that there are silos of information that exist within organizations. We spend most of our careers, as for those of us who are in the IT business, just trying to consolidate information that exists within the organization. But we also need to reach outside the enterprise. We need to reach out and start to think about capturing unstructured or social data. And once you think about actually capturing that data and then marrying it with the enterprise data that exists within your organization, then you really have a great confluence of insight and understanding of what's going on with your customer. And then, of course, you need to be able to leverage that in order to have more meaningful and personalized engagements with your customer. Second sub-approach under understanding is really harvesting insight from across your organization. So it's not enough for the marketing department or the service organization to really be the ones that are engaging with customers, or the field organization. There's collective knowledge that exists not only across your organization but also across your customer base. So to be able to have the tools and capabilities in place to really harvest that insight from what we call collective knowledge, and to be able to do something with that. Harvest insight from community posts from your customers, from your community blogs, from all of the different angles in which your customers are actually harvesting great knowledge about your brand or your product. And of course, the third one is, once you have all of this great knowledge about what's going on with your customer base, be able to leverage that insight in order to rethink experiences. Rethink experiences, not just based on what your customers buy, we talked about that today, but who they are, what they say, and most importantly, who they influence. One of the things I found interesting in the speaker from the bank, Metro Bank, as he talked about not believing in measuring customer profitability or customer value. What I think is interesting about that is, true, I don't think that we should be measuring customers just based on transactional value or profitability to an organization, but I do think that there is an interest in understanding the social value of customers, the value of your highest influencers, and how they can actually help to perpetuate your business. And I think we need to start to think about calculations of lifetime value that take into consideration social value, social influence, in addition to transactional values as well. Okay, the second approach is all about empowering your brand. And I don't think we need to go into the example too much. If you go to the next slide, just a quick understanding about empowering. So if you go back to my HDTV example about empowering your people, again, I'm looking for that TV. I've actually gotten into the store somehow through that particular flyer that I received in the mail. But the problem is that when I get to the store, there's no one around to help me. And I really want to understand the competitive details of that particular product. I want to understand not only the pricing, but the details and what are my other selection options. And I can't find anybody to help me in the store. So if you think about reimagining that experience with just that simple example, what if I could actually access that information on my mobile phone? What if I was actually in the store, I could open up an application and I could find all of the detail that I needed to? I actually would be empowered as a consumer to self-serve and self-solve within that particular example. And then once I actually open that mobile phone, if I could just transact, I'm in the store, and I could actually purchase that TV when I'm in the store. And I wouldn't actually have to go select the product, go up to the cash register, and then pick it up. I actually am in the store, finding out information, clicking submit, and transacting when I'm there in the store. That is an experience reimagined. So if you go to the next slide, we'll talk about just a couple of key sub-approaches around empower that I think are important to understand. I think the first one is pretty self-explanatory. It's about making self-service easy and rewarding. Just make it easy for your customers to do business with you. Make it easy for them to find stuff on your website. Make it easy for them to find those competitive details, pricing details, information when they're in your store so that it's easy for them to transact. It's easy for them to actually find information at their fingertips when they're trying to actually engage with you about your brand. Second concept is all around cultivating sales from relevancy and trust. So when you empower your customers, when you empower your partners, when you empower your employees to self-serve and to self-solve and to transact at the point of need, which is the example that I just gave you, it really enables you not just to reduce the costs within your organization, but at the same time, you're building that credibility in the Amazon example that I gave you about my own personal situation. You're cultivating sales. I will keep going back to Amazon because you've cultivated sales through relevancy and trust that I have with a particular brand. At the same time, what you're doing is you're actually gathering rich information about your customers. You're gathering that rich insight about how they like to engage with you and how they like to transact. And the third one is very important. It's about being able to continue to deliver the promise across your ecosystem. So it's okay for you to basically have, it's great for you to figure out all of your internal processes in order to drive great customer experiences, but you also need to empower your ecosystem as well. It's no good if your channel is not reflecting the same values, the same processes for driving great customer experiences as you are. So you really need to be able to empower your channels and also your frontline employees so that they can engage equally with your customers to drive great experiences. The third approach is all around adapt and how you actually optimize for great experiences in the moment so that you are consistently driving and personalizing that experience. So if you go to just the last kind of example to kind of tie this up, I'm back to my HD TV, and I've been able somehow miraculously in the last example to actually click on my mobile phone and transact and purchase that particular item when I'm in the store on my mobile phone. Just imagine that experience. I don't know about you, but I haven't been able to do that very often with too many brands. But what if I could actually not only just submit the transaction, but that I actually obviated the need to have this kind of an experience where I'm waiting in line? What if I could just click submit and then automatically they would indicate to me that I would be able to just go to some kind of window and pick up my item? And what if I was so happy about that experience I could automatically tweet about it directly from my mobile phone? So if you think about everyday experiences, just going to buy a TV, and you take a step back and you reimagine it from a different angle. You reimagine how you might actually change that experience for your customers with just, some simple kind of redefinitions of processes and then apply technology to it. In the examples that I've been giving you, embracing these three approaches, you can really start to reimagine the customer experience and drive loyalty and ultimately advocacy on behalf of your brand. Okay, a couple of concepts under ADAPT that I think we should just cover because, of course, when you're talking about adapting, you're talking about adapting and optimizing experiences. And there's a couple of key things that we need to think about. So the first thing that we need to think about is about connecting the interactions in order to capture opportunities with your customers across channels. So of course, with increasing demand and increased channel choice, we talked about this again this morning, customers are interacting with you across multiple channels, and they're hopping channels, right? They're not just, in the old days of CRM, I've been in the CRM business a long time, you would start and stop a process within a channel, and we thought we did a really great job. We managed to figure out, how to run a call center channel or how to run, an e-commerce channel. But customers don't actually buy within a channel. They research, they buy, they hop around, they go from channel to channel. And your job, your challenge as a brand is how do you actually connect the opportunities as your customers are actually hopping across channels? And how do you actually start to marry the different transactions and points of engagements that your customers are having across channels so that you can actually seamlessly kind of enable your customers to transact and engage across channels? Second sub-approach is really all about innovating and differentiating with personalization. So with all of this increased choice and increased competition, your customers have increased expectations of how they do business with you. And they really expect you to deliver this highly personalized experience based on deep customer understanding. Again, I think the statistic was, 86% of customers will switch after one bad experience. So they expect you to know who they are, not just based on what they've bought, but also who they influence, where they are at the time. All of these different types of metrics are very important in terms of really driving that highly personalized engagement. So what I'm going to do now is I just want to break down the customer life cycle a little bit for you, so we really understand what we mean by that. So when we talked about the customer life cycle, this is really from the outside-in perspective, how customers really go through the process of discovering what they need, influencing their friends, engaging in their own research before they actually buy something, finalizing their selections, and preparing, of course, for the use of that particular product or service, and then the type of service and support that they expect. So what I want to do is I'm going to start with just breaking down that life cycle into a couple of key stages and maybe hopefully clarify some of the things that are going on by taking a few quick snippets at some videos. So if you go to the next slide, let's start with the first kind of stage in the life cycle, which is all about recommended need. So basically, when you're trying to figure out what you need, you want to buy a product, you want to buy a service, you want to buy anything, or you determine that you need something, what you're doing is you're keeping score, right? You keep some kind of mental score in your head. You keep a score. Is this good or is this bad? Would I recommend this or would I not recommend this as I research and find out about products? And different segments recommend things in different ways. And as we know, millennials who are addicted to mobile phones and probably don't even know what emails are, are very influenced by social media and very influenced by what their friends have to say about whether something is good or whether something is bad. And different segments do it in different ways. They pick up the phone and they tell their friends about it, or they write them an email about it, or they post something about it. So ultimately, when you are recommending and needing something, it's very important to understand what are the dynamics that are going on behind that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at one segment. We're going to take a look at the millennials, which is a segment of consumers that are under the age of 18. And we're just going to try to get a snapshot of how they think about the world when they're going through this phase of the life cycle. So let's go to the video clip and have a quick look at that.
It's the sort of things that you ask about.
I want to stand out, be noticed.
I guess polka dots. Yeah.
The line between unique and freak is pretty skinny, so
Sharing stuff, links and things, pictures.
videos me and my friends make.
Lets me be
Original.
unique, one of a kind,
And if somebody online, or even some brand or whatever, gets me,
and shows me stuff I like and makes it fun to get it, then I can share what I find with all sorts of friends. And I love when people comment on something or like what I share.
but don't stalk me.
What my friends and I share is kind of our business. It's for us. And it's kind of creepy when they think they know me, but they don't. And they try to push stuff on me, and it's just weird.
Look at our purse. I really like that purse.
When they actually get me, it's kind of brilliant. Like I was walking downtown,
Guys, check this out.
and I got this text about a pop-up store nearby.
Oh my god, let's go.
They knew where I was, which was slightly creepy, but it was all good.
because I found stuff you can't get anywhere. And they had stuff they weren't even selling online. I love that brand.
Notice me.
Entertain me. Get me.
I'm your customer.
So what I like about that video is it really gets into the minds of millennials and what's important to them. And as you are starting to segment your customer base and understand your customers, which is approach number one, really important to understand what is important to this core group. So what we saw in the video is that uniqueness is really important. They want to have fun. They want to be informed. They want their interactions to be personalized, and most important, they want their interactions to be highly social. And this is just one type of customer segment. I mean, different customer segments want to engage with your brand in different ways. And then when you are reimagining your experience, or reimagining the experiences of your customers, and you're thinking about this stage of the customer life cycle, think about what that experience would look like for a millennial, not a millennial, sorry, a boomer, or what would that experience look like for someone who was part of the Gen Y or the Gen X generation. So different segments experience your brand in many different ways. Okay, the next phase in the customer life cycle is about researching and selecting. So once you've determined, you've done your research that, you actually want to buy something and you kind of have figured out your requirements and you're keeping score, then you really want to go deep. You want to go deep and research all of the different things that apply to that particular product or service that you're interested in. And there's many different methods to sift through all of the information that's available. And you're trying to figure out now which is the option that best fits, what suits my requirements and what suits my needs. And you want to be able to have a level of trust and confidence before you make that final selection. Not only that you've gotten the best price, but also that particular product or brand is really the best fit based on who you are. And selections are based on perceptions, perceptions of a brand and how a brand actually engages and is perceived by its end consumers. So let's take a look at a different segment, just to understand how the Gen Y generation, these are typically folks in between the ages of 18 and 35, might think about this particular phase in the customer life cycle. So let's just show the next video clip.
I'm making my own way now.
So price matters.
But what the brand stands for matters just as much.
So I explore a lot of options.
I can't afford to make
Stupid decisions.
It just works so easily.
Do you have to pay extra for the GPS, or is that just a feature?
No,
It's
this is
really
the best
freaking
one.
cool.
Oh, hey. I'm at the age where
I'm choosing brands that I might end up being loyal to.
For life.
I want a brand that is committed to sustainability.
innovation.
Giving me my money's worth.
The same things that matter to me.
So have you guys gotten this app? It's kind of like where you can review, but you can check to see if you're out in the middle of nowhere, you can check to see if there's any restaurants nearby.
I grew up with this stuff. The web and me, we were kids together.
But you can't know everything. Things change way too fast.
But someone
Somewhere.
Pretty much always knows what it is you need.
Sometimes it's one of my friends, sometimes it's...
A brand or...
sometimes it's a stranger on the other side of the world.
It's great to know what other people think.
And to share my experiences and let other people know what I think.
But you've got to know whose opinions.
You can trust.
I can usually find what I need, but when I do need help...
That brand should know it and reach out. If you can actually help.
And prove that I can trust you, I'm...
way more likely to come back.
So, is this the place right here?
Yeah, this is it. I read about it online and it's supposed to be great.
Oh, really?
It smells good.
I know.
Fresh made tortellini.
It's gonna be great.
Make it easy for me to buy what I want.
Reward my loyalty. I like the little extra somethings.
Member discounts.
Premium treatment.
Freebies.
But on the other side,
I'm happy to tell you when you get it wrong.
And if you don't make it right, it's easy to let my network know that you screwed up.
remember me.
Engage me.
Help me.
Reward me.
I'm your customer.
Okay, so we just saw a short clip of Gen Ys and what's important to them. And so a couple of things that I think stand out in that particular video clip. The choices for the brands and the investments that they make are not just for now, but they're also for the future. They want to make sure that the investment choices that they make are important and will withstand time. They really want their influence to be understood. They want to be connected and rewarded for the right choices. And most importantly, they want to be helped and they want to be valued in the process. Next phase in the life cycle we're going to move quickly is around purchase and receive. We're not going to show a video on this one because we're in the interest of time. But now you're in the purchase and receive stage of the customer life cycle. So you're about to make your final selection and you're about to transact. You're about to make that purchase. There's a method of payment for each of the purchases, let's say, that you're interested in. And you really want to be able to track all of the receipts for these goods and services that you might be buying. And so what's important to you is when you're just about to transact is that you really understand all of the kind of transactional details and requirements, make sure that there's no hidden issues, there's no hidden costs, there's nothing involved, that there's complete transparency that might derail the purchase at this stage in the customer life cycle. So the important thing in the purchase and receive stage, whether it's Gen Y, Gen X, or any particular segment that's about to make that transaction, is that really at the end of the day, the brand delivers on the promise that they put out before the customer actually transacted, and that the expectations of the consumer are met, and that the gap between brand promise and expectations is completely closed. If we were to show a video clip, which unfortunately we don't have time to do, we would probably choose Gen X, because that's obviously the next segment that we haven't really talked about. And the important thing for a Gen X segment and things to think about is they really want their interactions and engagements to be transparent. We talked about no hidden costs, not only easy to do business, but transparency. They want their engagements to be trustworthy. If I'm going to make a decision about a big purchase, I want to be able to trust the brand. Not only that I'm going to get, again, the expectations between the brand promise and what I get are delivered, but that I can actually trust that the decision that I'm making is the right one, not only for now, but also for the future. So let's go to the final stage of the customer life cycle, because I know we all want to go to lunch, and it's all about use and maintain. So I've actually purchased that particular product, and now I'm using it. And I might want to have questions that I want answered about the product that I've just invested in. Again, as a brand, when you think about the customer life cycle, it doesn't end after the transaction. It just continues, and it's a continuous customer loop that even goes back to the very, very beginning, because if your customers are happy with the product that they've purchased, if you've managed to deliver great service, most likely they will recommend and advocate on your behalf. So in this particular phase of the life cycle, it's really important that not only does the customer, derive value from the purchase that they've made, but that they have easy access to information when they need it and how they want to consume it about that particular brand or service. And all of that can really help to increase the value because of the perception that your customers have that you're creating about that particular brand or service. And all of these are great opportunities for organizations to be able to really embrace great customer service and really drive great customer experiences after the transaction. So again, if we go back to our customer segments, the last video that I'm going to show you is about the boomer generation. And I want to talk about how do boomers really think about this phase of the customer life cycle and what some of their expectations are. So if you go to the video, we'll take a quick look.
Nostalgia is inevitable, I guess. But I'm never going to get technology the way my kids do.
They grew up with this.
Now, don't get me wrong. I like it when technology makes it easier to get things done.
Keeping in touch with family.
Oh, hey, Taylor, how are you?
Buying things online.
I can get around the web relatively well now.
But there's a lot out there that's annoying.
Or disappointing.
Or frustrating.
And doesn't seem to help at all.
See, when I buy something from you...
And it doesn't work?
Then what?
Your manual is mostly incomprehensible.
I don't want to wait for an email.
I don't want to sit on hold for 20 minutes.
I don't want to be connected to someone who doesn't speak my language.
I definitely don't want to be told it's my fault.
And don't make me repeat.
Repeat?
Repeat myself.
Don't put me on hold and make me enter my account number.
And then ask me for it again when you answer.
I've been a good customer.
For years.
Live agent. I should be able to reach you easily. Live agent.
I prefer a real person, but options are good.
Email for some things.
Your website.
Oh, all right. Now we're in business.
But mostly, I like a real person.
Unless it's easier to do it myself.
And the service,
Advice,
Help.
I get should be just as accurate, just as reliable, no matter how I get it.
things change so fast these days. Hard to keep up with it all.
So I'm trusting you to help me know what I don't know.
To learn how to get the most out of what I have.
And help me help others like me, too.
I'm proud of the trust I've earned over the years. I've built
strong relationships, and I'm very protective of them.
So even though I only have 16,
54,
7
Facebook friends, my influence is more than you know.
And my people know when I share an opinion,
they can count on 2 things.
It's honest, and you can trust it.
So treat me with respect.
Make my life easier.
And you can count on my loyalty.
Understand me.
Respect me.
Please me.
Support me.
I'm your customer.
I must admit, I think that's my favorite video on the lot. But anyway, I think the important takeaways for that particular segment in this stage of the customer life cycle is that whether the conversation is about a customer support issue where you're trying to help somebody fix a product or service, or whether they just have a series of questions about that particular product or service, it should be easy, right? It should be easy for your customer to be able to pick up the phone. In the case of the boomers, this was their preferred choice of communication, and to do business with your brand. And most importantly, make the engagement or the communications consistent. Make it reliable. They're much less likely than other generations to leverage social media to find answers. And so you need to pay attention to the specific needs and requirements of that particular generation or segment. So in summary, if you go to the last slide, I want to just quickly recap, what we're talking about here today. We talked about kind of the 3 approaches that you need to think about when you're about to embark on a customer experience strategy or customer experience journey within your organization. The first one is really about understanding your customers. Second one is about empowering your people, whether it's your partners, your employees, or your customers, your end customers. And third, and most importantly, about adapting your experiences with agility in order to optimize the experiences and dynamically be able to change. All of that involves a lot of technology, a lot of products. And if you go to the next slide, I want to just end with one snapshot view of all of the different products and kind of technologies that we have available at Oracle, just one slide on Oracle, because what we focused on for most of this presentation wasn't the technology. It was about the concepts and approaches for driving great customer experiences. But there's a lot of technology that sits behind the scenes in order to be able to marry unstructured and structured data, in order to drive processes seamlessly between your call center and your mobile phone and your e-commerce channels. And all of this technology kind of has to come together. So at Oracle, we have a complete portfolio of customer experience software, obviously very rich BI, big data, hardware, all of this that comes into effect in order to help really deliver on the promise of great customer experiences. So thank you very much for your time. I'm going to be around for the rest of the conference, and I hope to meet some of you. Thank you.